Hi 8th grade science students. This is your assessment lab, and it's about the cooling method. So you're going to be required to watch this video and follow my procedure, and then you're going to have to be able to write a lab report about this experiment and make sure that you follow our template so that you include all the different steps. For example, you have to identify the problem, you have to identify all the variables, you have to form a hypothesis, you have to know the materials list, write a procedure, and gather the data, collect the data that I'm going to tell you as we go along. And then you will also write a conclusion statement at the very end, and that's what you will be tested on. So let's get started. So I like to drink diet sodas. I really do. But I don't like to drink them unless they're really, really cold. So I want to know what is the fastest way to chill my sodas, my diet sodas. I really want them as cold as possible in a short amount of time. So if you notice over here, I have 3 Coke Zeros that I want to drink, and I want them to be cold. So now I have to figure out what are the cooling methods that I want to try to use and which one is best. So I have 3 choices. I have the refrigerator that I can put one in. I have a freezer, and I also have some ice. So I'm determined to find out which one of these methods is going to be the quickest. All right? So I have 3 cans of soda, 3 cooling methods. I also have some thermometers that I'm going to use later on. Okay? So I think that probably ice is going to be the fastest cooling method. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. But in order to prove my hypothesis, I've got to put one in each of these cooling methods. Okay? So you form a hypothesis as well, what you think is going to be the best cooling method, and then I'm going to run the procedure. So what I'm going to do, I know that these Coke Zeros are all at the same starting temperature because they've been stored here on top of this little table all day. So they have got to be the same temperature because they've been in the same place, right? So I'm going to take one of these Coke Zeros and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. I'll put it down on the bottom shelf. Okay? I'm going to take another one and I'm going to put it in the freezer right there. And then I'm going to take the last one and I'm going to put it in this bowl of ice, and I'm going to make sure, if I can, that it is covered and surrounded completely by the ice. Okay? And I'm going to set my timer. So I'm going to set my timer for 30 minutes. So I started it. And in 30 minutes, I'm going to take all of the sodas out and I'm going to measure their temperature and see which one is cooler in 30 minutes time. All right, we'll be back in 30 minutes. Thanks. Coconut and Kiko. Say hi, Coconut. Say hi. So, back to science. So I set the timer for 30 minutes and the timer just went off. So now it's time to take the sodas out and find out which cooling method cooled my sodas the fastest. Alright, so we're going to take the one out of the refrigerator, and we're going to take the one out of the freezer, and we're going to take the one out of ice. Okay, so ice, freezer, and refrigerator. And unfortunately I have to open all of them. We're going to be drinking a lot of Coke Zero tonight. So I have 3 thermometers. I'm going to put 1 in each can. Shh. Okay. And we have to give the thermometer just a few seconds to measure the temperature. So while we're waiting for that, I want to remind you that I did this because I wanted to know which was the best cooling method as far as getting my sodas cold in a short amount of time. I used the refrigerator, the freezer, and ice to cool. I used 3 Coke Zeros, 3 cans of Coke Zero, and I left them in for 30 minutes. And now I am going to measure the temperature of each. Okay? So the temperature of the soda that was in the refrigerator is about 19 degrees Celsius. The one that was in the freezer is about 14 degrees Celsius. And the one that was in the ice is about, maybe I did that wrong. It is about 8 degrees Celsius. Let me double check this one. So it looks like for me that ice is going to be the best cooling method. Right? So now your task is to write a lab report of this whole experiment. Be sure to follow the template. Your rubric is going to be based on the template. So I expect to see the problem question. I expect to see a hypothesis written in the if-then format. I need to see all of your variables identified, both the independent, dependent, and controlled variables. You need a materials list. You need a procedure, a steps of procedure. And then you will also have to have some kind of data table where you can record the data that I told you in the video. And then you will draw conclusions, write your conclusion statement. Remember to include the 5 steps that I said were very important to have in a conclusion, a good science conclusion. All right, so that concludes our experiment, and good luck.